Sam, we are officially live on YouTube. You can take it away.
Okay, well, I'll toss it over to Shirley, who's the chair.
Okay, adoption of agenda. Is there any additions? No?
No.
Okay, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Sean, call the question. Those in favor? Carried.
Okay. And how do I?
Minutes of previous meetings, minutes of April 6th, 2020 meeting. Is there any corrections that anybody saw? No corrections we need to make. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes? Bryce?
Okay.
Call the question. Those in favor? Carried. Business arising from the minutes? Nothing? Okay, on to 4A, Devin Phelps, and Devin is here as a delegate. And page 4. And go ahead, Sam.
Sorry.
Oh,
I want to send it.
Okay.
It's giving me a hassle. Maybe it went now. Okay, so for Devin's application. The purpose of this report is for MPC to consider the application for a change in use for the addition of food production and restaurant food service only at 217 3rd Avenue Northwest, located in the C1 downtown commercial mixed use. And this will be for Devin Phelps or Flipside Consignment. So in accordance with section 3 of the land use bylaw, food production means a use where plants are grown to produce food in a building that may include hydroponics, aquaponics, or vertical growing, where food grown on site may be processed and packaged, that may include aquaculture and raising insects for food, where no dust or vibration is seen or felt outside of the building, and where all of the processes and functions associated with the use are fully enclosed within the building. A restaurant food service only means the food is prepared and sold for consumption on the premises or off the premises, but not licensed for the sale of liquor, and there's no fast food entrances.
Dreams is coming in right now. I'm just going to admit her.
Thank you. Okay. So the applicant put forth a bylaw amendment in March of 2020 to allow for the growing of microgreens in his empty storage units. This amendment was researched thoroughly, and the planning department reviewed the processes in which other municipalities dealt with the growing of microgreens. Food production was the use that seemed the best fit for what Mr. Phelps wanted to do, and so was brought forward to council to add to the land use bylaw. On April 7th of 2020, council approved this with the second and third reading of bylaw 07/2020 to add food production as a discretionary use in the C1 downtown, which is why we are now here. So Mr. Phelps tells us that he has had plenty of interest from customers and other businesses in microgreens and the ability to buy them fresh. He's also applying for restaurant food services in the hopes of adding a smoothie counter to his business in the near future. This use is intended to be conducted solely inside of the building, and so should have no impact on the neighboring properties. And as this use helps to continue to grow a business in the downtown area, the planning department has no concerns with this application at this time and recommends the MPC approve development permit 130220. Any questions?
Any discussion?
I have no concerns with this at all.
Anything that you want to add, Devin?
I don't think so. I think everything was outlined pretty good in the in that. So
awesome.
Yeah. So Devin, there was one thing that I had found online. I started researching it and I thought, oh, it can't be that hard. And so I started researching microgreens, and yeah, it's pretty difficult, but I had found a blurb where one lady was talking about the difference between actually growing the product and then the packaging and production and everything was two different things. But I think I talked to Sam just before the meeting, and she said that you had actually accounted for that in the land use bylaw and in everything else, that you've done all the research. So I think you're ahead of the game on this, and good for you. So any other comments? No. Can I get a motion? Sean? Okay, Sean made the motion. Any more discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? Carried.
Okay, so
Thanks,
Devin, I will get your permit out to you tomorrow.
okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You guys have a good evening.
Yeah,
Thanks,
you
you
too.
too.
Take care.
Okay. Just a
And-
reminder, we're being recorded.
Yeah.
With this next application.
So page 16, Frank Wilson, discretionary use.
So the purpose of this report is for the MPC to consider the application for a temporary stockpile of logs at 805 Caribou Trail Southwest, located in the M1 Industrial District. On April 2nd, the planning department noticed logs being unloaded from trucks, multiple trucks, at 805 Caribou Trail Southwest. And then over the course of the weekend, an extensive volume of logs was unloaded, creating 2 log piles that cover a large portion of that site. The planning department contacted Mr. Frank Wilson, who is the landowner, and he advised us that due to mill closures and road bans, that he had trucks loaded with logs that had nowhere to go. Considering that he had an empty lot, he decided to unload them there. He says that the front row of logs adjacent to Caribou Trail are of a grade acceptable to the mills and are to be shipped off to the mills, either Alpaca or Blue Ridge, once they reopen, hopefully in this month here. The second pile of logs behind that first row of a grade not acceptable to the mills, but he was hoping to cut up for firewood for sale. Currently, the land use bylaw has a definition for logging or logging operations. However, the uses proposed in this application do not fit into that definition. To be able to consider Mr. Wilson's request to operate a business wherein he cuts logs into firewood for sale, he would need to amend the land use bylaw to add this use. With respect to the log pile, the only thing we have in the land use bylaw that remotely applies would be a temporary stockpile. The planning department does have concerns, especially with fire season coming again. And essentially, we now have a large fuel source within the town limits. Secondly, the stockpile of logs is an intensive industrial use and does not belong in the town. All current mills are located out in the Amitsu Industrial Park, where the infrastructure necessary to support these intensive industrial uses exist, i.e. roads that can support the heavy weights of the log haul and heavy equipment, large sites to accommodate safe turning movements of large trucks and trailers, large sites that can move fuel sources away from structures, and uses that produce significant noise, smoke, and dust that would conflict with the urban setting. That said, the planning department has concerns with both requests of the applicant. With respect to the processing and sale of firewood, the MPC is unable to consider this request as it is not even a listed use in the land use bylaw. The applicant will be notified that he should be notified that he will be required to amend the land use bylaw, and then he can apply for the use if it is approved. If and only if the use is successfully added to the land use bylaw, and only if a development permit is approved, should Mr. Wilson be able to bring the logs back to the site for the processing of firewood. With respect to the stockpile of logs, the planning department feels the use does not fit into the existing industrial districts in town. The use is intensive industrial and requires large sites for the appropriate infrastructure to accommodate proper setbacks, turning movements, etc. As Mr. Wilson brought the logs into town without the benefit of a development permit, i.e. illegal use. Finally, we are in fire season and there is a large fuel source sitting within town limits. For these reasons, the planning department recommends that the MPC approve the temporary stockpile of logs until May 30th, 2020, at which time all logs must be removed, including those of a lesser grade that are not acceptable to the mills. There you have it.
Did Mr. Wilson give a date when the mills are going to be opening up?
He had a hopeful date, which was May 1st.
Oh,
And,
it's come and gone.
Yeah,
Well, he's not calling in or nothing to ask any questions?
he is somewhat technologically,
He chooses not to delegate.
yeah,
I'm a little confused. So the front pile
yeah,
is
apparently good for the mills.
grade acceptable,
Mhm.
but he brought in a pile before that.
No, the front pile was the first, and then the back pile is the second, because the front pile was right up against that front fence that's right on Caribou Trail. And we actually got a phone call from Alex asking if we knew about it. And then the next day I was at my husband's shop and saw them unloading even more trucks.
Oh.
And Monday comes along and there's even more wood there. And so I called Mr. Wilson and said, okay, I don't know what's going on. Can you explain to me what's going on?
Yeah. So the first pile that he brought in was because the mills had shut down.
Yeah.
The second pile that he brought in was under the assumption that he was going to start
Cutting up and selling firewood.
because the first pile wasn't questioned.
Well, let's put it this way, the first pile and the second pile were all done inside of a weekend. Like all of those logs were inside, like we found out late Friday afternoon, and I couldn't find a phone number to get a hold of Mr. Wilson until Monday, almost around noon. And then I called him immediately upon getting a number to call him to find out
So-
what's going on.
So right now, we can't even, because there's nothing in the land use bylaw that addresses the type of use that he wants to
Yeah.
add to his property.
Right,
We don't even consider
we can't,
cutting a fire road, right?
no, because it's
So-
not even a listed use,
So what we do need to consider is
the temporary stockpile.
the temporary stockpile.
Yeah.
Of all the logs as a batch.
Yeah,
Quite a couple of points here.
sure.
Alpac are not at Mitsue, they're at Athabasca, Alberta.
Oh, okay.
Ridge is at White Court, just outside of White Court.
Yes, the Blue Ridge one is definitely over there, yep.
They shut down the log hauls fairly early this year due to COVID, but it seems strange. They didn't have, they couldn't accept, what looks like 4 loads or so into their properties, and then they had to put them in Slave Lake. It's just this, the whole thing just seems kind of off.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any?
Yeah, I do. I'm just wondering, like, did you speak to Mr. Wilson if May 30th would give him enough time? I would just hate for him to go put in an application for the firewood thing. And if that does work out, then he doesn't have enough time. He has to remove it and then move it back in.
He does have property out in Smith where it can go.
Okay,
It was just, this was the easy route. And our fire chief has a lot of concern with that pile of firewood being there at this time of year. And honestly, the planning
Yeah.
department does as well.
I do too.
That's my concern too.
Even May 30th, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand he's gonna need time to remove it, but we're right in crunch time for fire season and we don't, yeah. It's not an ideal spot at all.
Okay,
And so Bryce, he brought all of that wood in over 2.5 days. So,
brought it in and loaded it.
so I don't see a big deal in taking it off in 30 days, or I guess it's under 26 days now.
sounds good.
Okay?
Great, any more discussion? Okay, can I get a motion? And the motion has to be in the positive. I'll make the motion. As noted. And there's no more discussion? No. Call the question, those in favor? Those opposed?
I'm in favor.
So 1, 2, 3 opposed, 3 in favor. It's defeated.
That's right.
Okay,
So in essence, that means that Mr. Wilson's going to have to remove the stockpile immediately.
Yes.
oh, sorry,
Sorry, we had given him a deadline, so,
sorry, you guys, I'm in favor of the motion.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay. That was a misunderstanding?
Yeah.
I'm assuming? Okay,
sorry.
So
I'm in
then-
favor of the motion,
okay,
that he removes it by May 30th.
okay,
So we've given him a temporary permit?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, the very first thing is,
yeah, motion is carried.
okay,
Sorry, guys.
okay, and I have nothing else.
Number 5, land use bylaw, nothing. 6, proposed subdivisions, nothing. 7, other business. 8, MPC development concerns, nothing.
No,
9, meeting review. Next meeting,
There's a possible meeting for May 25th, I want to say is what it is, yes. Is a tentative booking.
May 25th, possible. Do you have something coming up?
No,
No?
and then the 1st of June. So the
Okay.
likelihood is that it would hold off to the 1st of June.
Okay. So next meeting, June 3rd,
First,
June 1st.
Yeah.
And tentatively, there may be one on the 25th of May. Okay?
if something
If
comes up, but I
Okay,
don't have anything on my desk
Okay.
at the moment.
thanks, guys. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.